that phonological break and the semantic unity of that compound is what creates the interest. Boom. Okay. Ba ba da ba. Ba da ba. Okay. I don't know what I'm doing. Don't put that in the intro, Lucy. Fairly overcome with heat, you might say. Goodness gracious. I'm looking to the light here. Whoa, it's YouTube. Hi YouTube. Welcome back. We're gonna work more on the Sacrat languages today, and we are going to write some poetry. We're gonna figure out how to write poetry in Myǐnh, our tonal language that we've been working on, or at least one of them. And I guess without further ado, let's get started. So side webcam time. Dun, 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 dun. I feel like everyone who presents, whether it's on a stream or on Zoom, inevitably develops a certain amount of weird ba-ba-da-ba or doop-ba-da-boo whenever you're going around and you're searching for controls for things. I think this is natural, and I think we should welcome it. I think we should probably try and share the best practices. Like, for example, does ba-ba-da-ba work better than do-do-do-do? Or is there some sort of a rhythmic component? Is it ba-da-ba-da-ba-da? I've never tried that. Maybe that works well. All right, so our task today is to come up with at least one kind of poetic form that will work for me. And the sub-constraint is that I don't want it to be a shameless ripoff of a Chinese poetic form. So, with that in mind, why don't we ponder how we might do this? So we have this a language that has essentially a one-to-one correspondence between morphemes and syllables. We have a tonal language, and so this is why I'm trying to avoid some of the temptations towards the classical Chinese poetic forms. But to me, something like a fixed syllable count per line would be a good place to start. So if we were to do that, so let's say, poetry is a big place, and I'm by no means an expert at everything it contains. Essentially what we're doing is we're playing with linguistic form. We're constraining linguistic form in some way and deriving artistic effect from that. So we need constraints. Quain's putting a suggestion for 6 syllables, but not 5 or 7. Okay. All right, let's do 6 syllables then. Okay, so we'll have a 6-syllable line. And why don't we put in some rhyme? Let's put aside the question of what we're going to do with the tones. But let's say we have final rhyme. So 6-syllable lines, the last syllable of the line should rhyme, maybe in something like an AABB setup, or we can experiment with that. Let's make 4 lines that can sort of be shuffled around in the do not go gentle into that good night style, and we can see what it looks like. Okay, so let's find. We don't have that much vocabulary, so we may want to generate some more as we go. But let's see what we can do. So we could do something like Maltikal Be. This protoform gives us a 3-syllable starting point. So Chao Be. So let's Romanize this. There are no minor syllables left in Myǐnh. That's right. I'm forgetting our romanization. How did we romanize this? See, my memory's quite poor. Where did I store all this romanization? Okay, so here's the romanization. Here is our lexicon. Perfect. So we don't need any of these proto-4. Well, we might want to keep proto the ancestor language of me, but let's just hide these columns for now. And let's hide A as well. Okay, so the first line could be something like I'm going to just put the romanization off to the side here. Mindful of the fact that my camera's at the bottom. I gotta keep my eye on that. Okay, so we have wow, and then our ch was, what was that? That was C. So this is how we romanize. While chaobe. As soon as, and then maybe we could do something like as soon as you cross the river. You know, we're not going to make necessarily good poetry, but we can make poetry. So I believe the protoform for in Proto-Sacrat for cross is que. Yes. Okay, so romanized, that's going to be like this, que, and river is ki. So we have a line like while chao be que ki. But we're forgetting something, or at least I'm forgetting something. Tone sandhi, which we also worked on last time. So this as soon as construction is probably going to undergo tone sandhi, so we only have the final tone remaining, and the rest will be high. So we could write it like that. Wao chao be que ki. So as soon as cross river. Oh yeah, we need a sixth one. As soon as you cross the river. Thank you for the tip. Okay, so we need to come up with a way of saying you. And I don't believe we have pronouns in this language that we've worked on yet. I don't think so. So let's find a... Okay, what we could do, we could use our word sakrat, which means... Well, it means something that can be that can evolve into either sailor or rider. So maybe it has a semantic evolution like Spanish caballero. So using calling someone a rider as a polite form of address, and that could turn into a pronoun. So maybe this would be a polite second person pronoun in me. So this is, nope, that's not the way to do it. That's the way to do it. Mal chao be ka que ki. As soon as you cross the river. And please do not make the text weirdly colored and underlined. Ugh. If I could turn that off, I would. Okay. Yeah, we could use, yeah, so I need to catch up on the chat because there's been some good stuff coming in that I haven't looked at yet. Yeah. So, yeah, we could use demonstrative construction. There's so many ways to derive pronouns. I'm open to this language having an open class of pronouns that could express all sorts of different politeness and honorification functions. And let's see. Sutton asked, did the proto-language to the modern have any syntax changes? We don't know yet in the case of me, but this is our opportunity to introduce some. So if there are things that occur to you, I'm very much open to input. I love the collaborative vibe. The ba 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 and the ba ba ba. All right. Yeah, the hyperlinks are a key component of the language. Of any language I create in this in Google Sheets. Yeah, maybe ka is an archaic form of the second person pronoun or a specifically poetic register one. I like that idea. Some head final elements. Now, Quain, some head final elements. I like that idea. Would these be things that are in free... The question then would become, would these be things that are just in free variation? Sometimes there's you can use head final constructions. Are they things that are limited to certain contexts, like in negation or in questions? Or are they limited to certain classes? Like, for instance, you get object verb, but nothing else. Yes, things to think about. I've kind of painted myself into a corner with this key rhyme, because we need to find a nasal vowel that ends in E. But we have one. We have ring, strong. So maybe that can be something that we rhyme with. Me. That's true, we could. As soon as you cross the river, you are no longer me. Super hardcore. Yeah, we could absolutely coin epithets to get it. So, epithets. When I think of when I think of like proper epithets, I think of oral tradition poetry, where you need sort of memory aids to keep going as you're going through these epic, thousands and thousands of lines long poems. But I'm also thinking of things like kennings in Old English and Old Norse poetry, where we have, and I think this was mentioned earlier, alliterative verse. And alliterative verse is fun because so the way alliterative verse works is you have two halves of a line. I'll just talk about the Old English because that's the one I know. You have two halves of a line, and you have to have a stressed syllable alliterating in each half. And it's a bit more complicated than that, but that's the gist of it. And so you have to share the initial consonant, and this means that you're kind of limited in what you can talk about. If you start with an S, then you want to talk about a person, you have to think of a way to say hero that starts with S. And so one way to get around that restriction is to come up with these things called kennings, which are ways of describing something indirectly. So the most famous one, I think, comes from the very start of Beowulf, which is Hronrad, which is whale road instead of the sea, it's Hronrad because we need in that line to alliterate on H. And so because the word sea doesn't begin with H, we need to come up with some way of referring to the sea that does. And so there you get that kenning. That's kind of fun. Maybe we could do... idea. So we have a 6-syllable line. And maybe we have a caesura, a break, in the middle. But maybe we have a rule that says that the caesura should fall within a word. So we know me has a lot of compounds. Why don't we make it so that the caesura has to fall within the middle of a word? And so then we could have alliterative verse in this line by doing this. So something like, oops, no, it never works. How many buttons do you need in the lower left hand of a keyboard? There's control, there's function, there's option, there's command, there's Windows key, there's alt. And how do they correspond to one another? I don't know. Sorry, it's my woes. You don't need to hear them. So this fact that we have a word that can't be, well, we have a compound, a polysyllabic word going across the caesura, ties the two halves together. And then we could also require alliteration if we really wanted to. We could say something like, you have to have, I don't know, maybe this is overdoing it, but you have to have one instance of alliteration between the first half and the second half, and tie it together with the compound going over the caesura. So then this, I'll have to redo the gloss. It is you as soon as cross river. And it's always ruining my formatting. Why do you hate me, Google Docs? Why? So let me see if I can pronounce this. So Ka mwao chao be que kin. Okay. Okay. This is good. And keep in mind, I see so many good ideas coming in the chat. We're not going to be able to incorporate them all into this poetic form, but we are free to make more than one. The tone sandhi should stop. So maintain the original tones in poetry. That we could do. So what are our original tones in this case? But then how would you know that you're dealing with a compound? The nice thing about the tone sandhi is that it's a nice signal that you're at the end of a unit. And since the poetry, if we're going with this idea that there has to be a word that spans the caesura, then it does matter what the units are. In this case, it's 3 caesura 3, but there has to be a unit spanning the two halves. Let's ponder. And let's write another line, and we can come back and change things. So maybe this is a terrible poem. We don't have to approve the poem, but the idea could be: as soon as you cross the river, you are no longer. Remember, the name Myǐnh is the name of a goddess, so maybe something like "you are no longer blessed by me." And we have a word for bless, which is kam, and we have, of course, so bless. Yeah, we have a negative, so which is thigh. I think we were doing that with a Y. Not bless me. As soon as you cross the river, not blessed. We need to pad this line out. We need to plan this line out. Well, we need a way of saying not anymore. I don't think we have anything like that. So we can just, let's take one of our unused forms, and let's make it a negative polarity item that can be used to mean anymore. I will return to the chat in 1 second. Just want to finish this thought. So maybe niña could be it, anymore. So then we have taña, kami, not anymore, blessed by, and we have to figure out a way of passivizing that. Maybe not anymore, have the blessings of me. That could do it. Okay, let's think about that a bit. Okay, zooming up on the chat to catch up. Okay, so Quade's saying that that we could do Wao Chao as a separate unit from Be, and that could work tonally. So then in that case, what we would do is, but then we would lose the, I think that this would remove the, then we would lose the idea of having a form, a tightly bound form, like a prosodic unit that spans the caesura. And I'm never going to ever live this down. Which we could do. I mean, we could have, so this is a difference in how different poetic systems work. Some poetic systems like things to span the caesura, some don't. So we could do either. If we had the caesura here, as soon, and then let's break this curse. It doesn't even break the curse. Unbelievable. Absolute insolence of it all. It's never going to stop. It is never going to stop. Okay, so then this would be you as soon as cross the river. My motivation for having the for having this restriction that we have a form, a prosodic unit, and by prosodic unit I mean something like a compound, the domain of the application of tone sandhi. The reason I wanted that to cross the caesura is that we need a way to bind the two units, the two halves of the line. Well, we don't need it, but I think it would be nice. Otherwise, we get something like dan dan da, dan dan da, dan dan da, dan dan da. And it kind of is a bit static, if you know what I mean. Whereas if we have something more like da, da da da, da da, da, or da 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 da. Lucy's probably going to use that in the intro too. It just feels like the lines have a bit more momentum to them. Right. So imposing tone sandhi conditionally based on which elements are separated. Okay, so that, I think that might be a way out of our dilemma. So in poetry, when you're crossing a caesura, it imposes a tone boundary, and the tension between that phonological break and the semantic unity of that compound is what creates the interest. Boom. Okay. Ba ba da ba. Ba ba da ba. Okay. So, yeah, it's not easy to find so many compounds yet, but give us some time because we can be evil. Yeah, Quain. I like it. Alrighty. Echoed Words asked, how does the conlang work with double negatives? I don't know yet. I don't know yet. We'll have to make up our minds on that, I think. And now I'm warm, so I'm gonna have to take off the alpaca. Okay. Goodness gracious. Okay. Fairly overcome with heat, you might say. Okay, so not anymore receive the blessings of Myǐnh. I also saw a suggestion that we could make any more come from stay, and I like that idea. Where did I put that anymore? That was Ninya in the proto, so we could say stay, and then with the note that it grammaticalizes to mean anymore. Great. And we wanted this to be something like not anymore receive the blessings of Myǐnh. So we'll have to cross the caesura on receive. So where's my little symbol for that? It's only on this keyboard. So let's see, do we have anything receive like? We do. We have receive, and incidentally it also is a passive. And okay, so this can be part of our compound. And what else can we use? Do we have something like get or have? Yeah, maybe we could do something like receive have to be our receive compound, or receive accept. Oh no, I like that better. So it would be palya. Is this going to be the right key? Yes, it is. So Tainya palya kami. Okay. So we have our line. Now let me write down the actual tones because of sandhi. So we have mid, and then how did we treat mid acts as low for the purposes of dissimilation. So this is going to be mid, high, mid, low, mid, low. Yes. Yeah. So Malchow is a domain. Yeah. Get accept. Okay. I don't know, Quaid, if you're probably way ahead of me on that one. All right. So let's and Galactic Sand too. Wow. Teamwork. All right. So low. And then so this is interesting because this receive compound would undergo tone sandhi in prose to be low high, because the contours spread out over the last two syllables in the word. So it would be palha, and the fact that the caesura is breaking it means that that tone sandhi does not apply. So we have palha ish. I don't know. I can never trust myself on mid-tones. So we have mid, low, high, low. So this is kind of cool. And this is just by the power of friendship and the power of teamwork and the power of trying random things and colliding with the decisions we've already made, we've actually come up with a pretty cool system already. Now, the only other question is, do we care about tone in our poetic form? And do we care about alliteration? That's the other question. Because I introduced that idea, but I don't know if we actually need it. Because we already have this really nice way of binding the two halves of the line together, which is what alliteration also does. I don't think we need alliteration. Of course, we can use it. It's nice. But it's not necessary. Maybe we can curb our ambition for now and say, let's have rhyme, let's have syllable limits, and let's have this cool caesura spanning word restriction. And yeah, tones are hard. I mean, you can see me suffer here trying to make all of these, but it's all for the greater good, I think. All right, I'm gonna hydrate. I've decided to up my hydration powers today. Okay. Ooh, this is an athletic endeavor. Okay, let's keep it as is for now, and let's formalize what we have. So, rules of poetry. These are the rules of poetry, or at least of this form. So we can call this poetic form A, as if we're going to have like 26 of these. You never know. All right. 1. A line is 6 syllables long. 2. A line is broken into 2 half lines separated by a caesura. Always a fun thing to see spelled when you've only heard it pronounced, or vice versa. After the 3rd syllable. Yeah. Well, you know what it says. 3. Lines must rhyme. Well, we don't know exactly how they're going to rhyme yet, so I'm going to leave that off. The 3rd thing is this caesura spanning. So, the caesura of each line must be spanned by a word. Domain of tone sandhi. However, tone sandhi does not apply across the caesura, which is just so cool. All right. Yeah, I think we should do that. I think we should make a type of poetry descended from the Proto-Lang when we had, we could do it from different stages in the Proto-Lang too, which is really cool, assuming that there's this like long poetic tradition going on, because in Proto-Myǐnh we have final consonants. So maybe there are rhymes that come down into me that are purely conventional. So that partially correspond to tone categories, but also partially don't. Because you can see that, I don't know. So grak, if we're making a poem in Proto-Myǐnh, or in Myǐnh, I guess we would call it at the time. Old Myǐnh, maybe, is a better name for it. we would rhyme grak with which by the way is gya in me. We would rhyme grak with, I don't know, do we have anything? We may not even have a word. Bad choice. With kak. So gya would rhyme with pa, but it wouldn't rhyme with xia. Interesting. Right. So that would be something cool to do with this stage of the proto-language. And then with earlier forms, like proto-B, we might have something like iambic pentameter. So that's kind of fun. All right, I'm gonna hide these again because we don't need them. I think that's a respectable showing for one episode for YouTube, don't you? Let's give the people of YouTube a break. Let them go back to their day. I'm gonna just bid them farewell for now. So YouTube, thanks for joining us. That was productive. Come back and I think we'll do a little bit more poetry. And who knows what we'll come up with next. All right, thanks again.